Border tensions are rising between Venezuela and its neighbor, Guyana. At stake is the Guyanese territory of Essequibo, which makes up nearly two-thirds of the country. So why is Venezuela interested in it? Well, this is a long-running dispute that spans more than 150 years. But the story really starts in 1522, when Spanish conquistadors colonized the Caribbean islands and South America, including Venezuela. Venezuela ultimately came under the Spanish Empire's viceroyalty of New Granada, but in 1777 it was separated from it. That's when the Captaincy General of Venezuela was formed, functioning as an administrative district of Spanish colonies. Its territory then included the western flank of the Essequibo River, which was determined as a natural border. Meanwhile, the Dutch had set up a settlement in Guyana in the early 1600s, governing the region, including Essequibo, for more than 170 years. When the Dutch charter expired, control of Guyana was passed back and forth between them and the British until 1814, when Guyana formally came into British hands. Here's when things get interesting. See, the thing is, the question of the ownership of Essequibo was still undetermined. The Brits commissioned German explorer Robert Hermann Schomburg to explore the gold and mineral-rich region and demarcate territorial boundaries in 1835, 5 years after Venezuela had become a fully sovereign nation. In what came to be known as the Schomburg Line, he placed the Guyanese boundary west of the Essequibo River. The Venezuelans protested, claiming their border at the river itself. Regardless, the Schomburg Line was extended again in 1875, and that's where the crux of today's issue originates. In 1876, the Venezuelans pleaded with the US for help under the Monroe Doctrine, under which American continents in the Western Hemisphere would not be subject to further European colonization. The US eventually took the matter to an arbitration court, which in 1899 granted the British control over 90% of the disputed territory. Mind you, Venezuela wasn't even present at this court hearing due to American representation. US backing of Venezuela faltered after that. So much for the Monroe Doctrine. Venezuela was forced to ratify those findings and let its case rest for a while. Fast forward to more than 100 years later, and Guyana has discovered a wealth of resources. In 2015, ExxonMobil discovered oil in Essequibo. It was huge news for Guyana, as it gave the country of 800,000 the world's biggest crude reserves per capita. And this was just the beginning. In recent years, Venezuela has revived its claim to the territory and its offshore areas. It argues that the Stabroek Block, the area where oil was discovered, falls within its 320-kilometer exclusive economic zone. Caracas still maintains that the Essequibo River forms a natural border. In early December 2023, Venezuelans voted in a referendum to make the Essequibo area a new Venezuelan state. The vote came as the case on the border dispute continues to be heard at the International Court of Justice. The referendum triggered fears of a new conflict, with Brazil even sending troops to its border with Venezuela and Guyana in case of an escalation. But both countries have stepped back from the ledge, agreeing to avoid force. So this is where things stand now. And that's the story of how Venezuela and Guyana's long-stuttering dispute over Essequibo came to be, a stalemate mired in the annals of time.